Hi everyone, how you all doing? This is Muddle Muppet. I got what I think is a pretty interesting topic to talk about over this gameplay today. I've been asked in a couple of places about why do I swear so much when I'm doing my commentaries. I thought that's a valid question and it needs answering. So I've actually done a little bit of research into it. Before any debate can take place on swearing about its legitimacy within language, it should be acknowledged that the language even used to describe it presents a bias against it. So for example, we have terms like bad language, filthy language, foul language, obscene, dirty, profane. It's kind of like a judge saying to the jury, think carefully before you decide if this evil little scumbag is innocent or guilty. It's like the decision has already been made, the argument is already over. Now, I'm gonna look into a few different aspects of swearing. We're gonna look into the etymology. To be honest, I don't even know if that's the way to pronounce it. I'm not a professor of language or anything. I'm just an interested person wanting to look into why do we do the things that we do. But what makes fuck bad and copulate okay? Don't they actually describe the same thing? The history of swearing in the English language began as a class issue. The ruling class spoke French, the professions spoke Latin, and the peasants spoke Anglo-Saxon, which was seen as coarse. So excrement and feces are good language, and shit is bad language. Now, sometimes euphemisms can actually destroy what a word is meant to achieve. Now, later on, I'm going to be discussing two words, euphemism and dysphemism. These words are polar extremes. The euphemism, we might say, I made love. The dysphemism is, I had a fucking good fuck. Now, in certain situations, fuck is the truth and make love is a lie. Love is different from a fuck. Love is forgiveness, acceptance, unconditional, and the tenderest and most warming emotion. Shakespeare said, hear my soul speak. The very instant I saw you, did my heart fly to your service. Now that's beautiful. What the hell does that have to do with a fuck? It had nothing. A fucking good fuck is something different. A fuck begins with 4. Look at the arse on that. There are, of course, opposing sides to swearing. That the overuse of swearing makes it meaningless. But then again, that applies in normal everyday language. Some people will say, know what I mean, at the end of every sentence. Why, that becomes meaning. It can be used as a stopgap when people can't think of the right word to say, and they just throw a fuck in as a filler. And I think that is bad language, not because it's the use of the word fuck, but because it demonstrates that somebody really has an inability to express themselves. Who sets these standards? Now, usually it's the people that are in power. And the days gone by, it was the church. In some countries, the church is still very powerful. And of course, they set the power in those. In some cases, it's the state, the politics, but it's always the ruling classes. In America, a few years ago, Bono from U2 was accepting some award. It was on television. And he said, this is fucking brilliant. And the FCC, who regulate obscenity on the airwaves in America, said that no, it was being used as an adjective or emphative to emphasize an exclamation. And they deemed that it wasn't obscene to use it. I'm going to have a little discussion on different forms of swearing. Different forms of taboo, the genres. Now, first of all, we have the supernatural or the religious. That's the damn you to hell type of swearing. Then we have the body affluent, bodily products that we talk about, shit, piss, spunk. Now these different forms, these different genres are designed to provoke different emotions. The supernatural and religious are actually designed to provoke awe and fear. The bodily products are designed to promote or provoke disgust. We also have the genre of disease or death, and all of these are as old as history itself, as old as language itself. We have things like a pox on you. Again, I'm going to refer to Shakespeare. You gotta love that guy. A plague on both your houses. In its modern form, that has become eat shit and die. And those swear terms of disease and death are to try and provoke the feeling of dread and fear. Now we have then the genre of sexuality. You cocksucker. I'm not going to go on and list them all. It's pointless. But those are designed to provoke an emotion of revulsion at depravity. Now, again, we can see that historically the church had a very big role in this, because human sexuality was seen as depraved. It was seen as something that really people shouldn't have. They could be damned to hell for thinking dirty thoughts, for having a wank. We also have a group of disfavored people and groups, and this can be, I'd say that nowadays this is probably considered the worst form of swearing. Calling somebody infidels, spastics, nigger, wop, and they're designed to promote emotions of hatred and contempt. But these different genres can show a shift, a change in the moral zeitgeist, a change in how society views things. Because at one time, the sexual curse words, you cock, would have been far, far worse than to say, you nigger. Now, nowadays, and quite rightly so, calling somebody a nigger or a wop or anything like that would be seen as far worse than calling them a cock or a cunt. We can see the church's impact even on those two words, cock and cunt. They basically both describe male and female genitalia. Cunt is always seen as a much more powerful or shocking word than cock. Why is that? And I'd say again that this does go back to the church and the theocracies, in that a woman is seen as unclean, as the fall of man, and using their sexual wiles against man. We have all these references to unclean, etc., when they're having a period. I'm not even going to get into the whole thing about the religious side of things, because it's a huge debate on its own right. But we can't deny the influence that the religious mind and the theocratic mind has had on swearing and our perception of swearing. Now, we're going to have a look at 5 different ways of swearing. I mentioned the two words of euphemism and dysphemism. Euphemism is when we're trying to hide a topic. So we might say, oh, the dog's done a poo, we need to clear it up. We talk about doo-doo, manure, a stool. There's there's literally hundreds of different words that we can use. Dysphemism is when you want to force the actual real issue. So somebody comes along and their dog craps on your lawn. You don't say, your dog's done a doo-doo. You say, your dog's done a shit on my fucking lawn. And you can see the difference there. So that's one type, the dysphematic swearing, trying to actually force the heart, the rawness of whatever issue is being discussed. Another type is abusive. That's intimidation or humiliation. There's a world of difference between two mates who are, say, playing pool in a pub, for argument's sake, and they're teaming up with each other, and you've got a team of 2 people against a team of another 2 people. Your mate misses a shot and you say, oh, you fucking cunt. You don't actually mean it. You're not trying to intimidate him or humiliate him. But somebody comes right up to your face and says you're a fucking cunt. That is a completely different kettle of fish. So that's the abusive, the intimidative or humiliative. We have another category of idiomatic, and this describes things like, we'll say that don't on the surface seem to have any meaning at all. I'm pissed off. In the UK there's a very successful programme called Your Royal Family, and the guy there will always say my arse, Queen's speech, my arse. You just throw it in after anything. It doesn't mean anything, but it kind of somehow makes a point. We say things like fuck or sweet fuck all. So those are sort of just idiomatic, the things that have wormed their way into the language, and they do have a place. Then we have the emphatic, which is what I discussed earlier about Bono saying this is fucking brilliant. The overuse of the emphatic, it can lead to what is known amongst linguists as fuck patois. So I'm going to give you something here. This is said by a soldier coming home from the war. And he says, I came home to my fucking house after 3 fucking years in a fucking war. What did I fucking find? I found my fucking wife in fucking bed, engaged in illicit sexual relations with a male. Now the word itself has completely lost all meaning. Completely lost all meaning because of overuse. And I think that is a relevant point to think about when we're looking at swearing. Does it actually completely devalue what is a legitimate word to use? We also have a category called cathartic, and this is the release of emotion. There's various different theories on this. The theory that makes sense to me is rage circuit theory. This is where we have evolved from animals who shout and rage to scare off potential attacks at a time of weakness. It's a reflex action. So an ape falls out of the tree, for argument's sake, and they'll scream and they'll rage because right at that moment they feel vulnerable, they feel weak, and they are trying to scare off any potential attackers. There's no thought has gone into it. And this is the reflex action that humans have, but the reflex action triggers off a language system. Because the parts of our brain, I'm not going to go into the brain really in any sort of detail, but they all live in the limbic system. This is our fight or flight responses. Our limbic system operates on a level below conscious thought. Things occur within the limbic system before we even have the chance to think about it. It's why we'll say, oh, for fuck's sake, when we do something bad or we hurt ourselves or whatever. Often it's used as an aggressive stance to increase effect, and again it's to scare off anybody when we're feeling weak. In that form, it actually is communicative. It conveys an intense emotion state to bystanders. I'm going to wrap this up here, but before I'd come to my closing paragraph, what I'd like you to do is have a think about what I've said and do think, is swearing legitimate? Is there a place for it? If there are enough responses, I will respond to them in a future video. If not, I'll just take it as read that you all agree with me. I'd say that anyone who thinks swearing is meaningless is a hell-dwelling, shit-eating, cocksucking, nibble-loving fuckwit who can kiss my sweaty ass crack because they know fuck all. They piss me off more than a fucking 3-week-old shit hanging off my hemorrhoids. I don't really mean that. I do use bad language. Yeah, I've just done it myself. I don't think bad language is bad language. I think it's good language when it's used appropriately. It is used effectively. It is actually a fascinating subject to look into. If you look into the subject, you are looking into sociology, anthropology, religion, ethics, morals, moral zeitgeist. You are looking into so many different things. Seriously, if you think swearing is meaningless, you do not understand fuck all about swearing. This is Muppet out, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye!